In this video, I am going to discuss methods in Java. The video will cover details on how to pass data to a method using parameters and retrieve information from it via the return statement. Hi, I am Dr. Shahriar Hossain. Welcome to this channel. This video is a part of our lecture series on Java programming language. Today we are covering methods in Java. A method is a block of code to perform some specific tasks. One method can be called by another method an arbitrary number of times. That means a programmer can write a method when she or he feels that the lines of codes written in the method will be used multiple times. That is, a method can reduce the total length of your code. In many computer languages, methods are known as functions because a method is supposed to code some functionality. In this video lecture, we will learn how to use methods in our Java programs. Even though we did not explain what methods are, you are already familiar with one method. That method is the main method that we have been writing in each of our programs throughout this video lecture series on Java programming. Let us write a basic method first that will just print something. A method is written with a header. The header has the following format. At first we write a return type, then we write method name. Then in parentheses we provide parameters. In curly braces we provide the body of the method where the actual code is written. At the end of the code we generally write a return statement. A return type states what kind of information this method will send to its caller. It can be int, double, float, or any primitive data type. It can even be an object or even an array reference. After the return type, we write the method name. The method name cannot be the same as any existing syntax. Also, it has naming rules like it cannot start with a numerical digit. Uppercase letters are considered different than lowercase. It must be one token. That means there cannot be spaces in the name of a function. Then within parentheses, we provide parameters. Parameters are inputs to the method. That means the caller method can send data content to this particular method using parameters. We can provide multiple parameters. Then we will write the curly braces. The body of the code will contain standard Java codes that we are already familiar with. The body may have other variables as well. At the end of the method, one can return data by using a return statement. The returned data type must match with the return type mentioned here. Depending on the logic used in the method, the return statement may appear multiple times in the body, but only one of those return statements will execute. Execution of a return statement will take the program to the caller method, from where this method was called. That is, execution of a return statement ends the execution of the method where the return statement is situated. We will now write a method using this format. Let us write our program class file and the main method. Then inside the body of the class, but outside of the body of the main method, we will write our method. It does not matter whether we write our method before the main method or after the main method. Regardless of where we write our method, the Java virtual machine will always start the program from the main method. The Java virtual machine recognizes the main method and always calls it first. Let us write our first method that is not the main method. Let us write our method before the main method in this space. Later, we will call our new method from the main method. In our case, we will start a method with the syntax static. At this point, it is hard to explain why we are using this syntax static because we have not yet explained the object-oriented paradigms of Java. For now, I will say that from a static method, you can only call other static methods. Since our main method is a static one and we want to call the newly created method from our main method, we have to make sure that the new method is a static one too. After writing static, we need to write a return type. As said earlier, a return type states what kind of information this method will send to its caller. The method we will write now will not return anything. It will just print something. We need to tell Java Virtual Machine that the method will not return anything. The syntax that states that we will not return anything is void. After writing the syntax void, we have to write the method name. Let us say we want our method to have a name, myGoodMethod. It could be any other name that does not conflict with any existing Java syntax. Now in parentheses, we will provide practically nothing. Keeping it empty indicates that the caller can send nothing through the parameter of this method. In the body of the method, that is within the curly brackets, we will write our code. Let us write a simple code. I will print, "Hi, my name is Shahriar." We have a method. Now we can call this method from any other method. In our code, we have a main method. Therefore, we can call the method named myGoodMethod from the main method. To call the method myGoodMethod, we just have to write myGoodMethod in the main method. We also have to provide the necessary parameters in parentheses. In this case, we do not have any parameter. Therefore, we want an empty set of starting and ending parentheses. Then we put a semicolon like any standard Java instruction. If we execute the program will print what we wrote in the system.out.println inside our method named myGoodMethod. Let us save the file, compile it, and run it. The program prints, "Hi, my name is Shahriar." That means our main method successfully executed the method named myGoodMethod. Now let us see how we can use parameters. Let us say that we would like to make our method myGoodMethod suitable for printing any name, not just my name. We'll send the name as a parameter of the function. When we declare a parameter, we declare it as a variable. We'll send a name which is of a string type. Therefore, we state that the parameter is of string data type. Then we give the parameter a name. Let us say that the name of the parameter is any name. Now, this parameter can be used to send a name from the caller method. Whatever the content the parameter variable any name contains, we want the system.out.println method to print that. In place of Shahriar, we will print the content of the string variable any name. In the system.out.println, we write, "Hi, my name is," then we add the variable any name, and then we add a full stop symbol. Now the method is ready to accept any name from its caller. From the main method, let us call the same method 3 times with 3 different names as the parameter. In the first call, we provide Jane as the argument. In the second call, we provide John. And in the third call, we send Snow White. One item I should mention is that the instances we pass from the caller are sometimes called arguments. That is, Jane, John, and Snow White are 3 arguments that we are passing to the method. The parameter any name is the variable that captures each of the argument in each call. Now, if we run this program, we should see 3 lines starting with "Hi, my name is," but each line will have a different name: Jane, John, and Snow White. Although the names are different, we are actually using the same method but with 3 different arguments. Let us save, compile, and run the file. Notice that the 3 lines have 3 different names. Now we know how to send a parameter. Let us extend this code a bit and learn how to send 2 arguments in each call. Sending 2 or any more arguments is not that difficult. We can provide a second parameter, a third, a fourth, and so forth. We will use just a second one because that will fit in the context of printing names. Let us say that we have a second parameter. The second parameter is the age of the person. In this case, let us say that age is an integer. Therefore, we write int, then a variable name, the age. We separated the 2 variables by a comma. Now we can use the variable the age to pass an integer along with the string name. With the text "Hi, my name is," whatever name, let us add the age. We will say "Hi, my name is something," then we will say "I'm whatever the age is." The variable the age contains the age sent from the caller. Now, in the main method, in each of these calls, we have to provide 2 parameters, not 1. Previously, we had just 1 string parameter. Now, our parameter list has changed in the method. The first parameter must be a string, which is inside quotes, just like before. There should be a second parameter, which must be an integer, because this is how we designed our method named myGoodMethod. With each name, let us write a second argument, which is an integer. For Jane, let's write 20. For John, let us write 19. And for Snow White, let us write 23. Once we execute the program, we will see that with each name the corresponding age is printed. Let us save the file, compile it, and run it. Notice that we have age 20 with Jane, 19 with John, and 23 with Snow White. The 3 calls are using the same method, but each time the passed arguments are different. So far, we have seen how we can pass arguments to a method. We have not yet seen how we can return something from a method to the caller. We can use the return statement and the return type to return a content to the caller method. Let us work on a different problem now. Let I and j be 2 integers. Let's assume that I is smaller than or equal to j. Compute the summation of all the integers between I and j. That is, if I is equal to 3 and j is equal to 6, then compute the summation 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. For these numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6, the summation will be 18. We'll write a method that will take I and j as its parameters. Therefore, we'll return the summation of all integer numbers between I and j. That is, if I is 3 and j is 6, then 18 will be returned by the method. For any pair of integers I and j, where I is smaller than or equal to j, the method must be capable of returning such a summation. Let us write a class and the main method. We will write a method named sum I to j. As before, our method starts with the syntax static, then we will write the return type. For our problem, for the given I and j, we want to return the summation of all integers between I and j. The summation of integers is also an integer. Let us put int as our return data type. That is, we will return an integer from this method. Let us give a name to the method. Let it be sum I to j. Sum I to j will have two parameters, I and j. Both the parameters are integer parameters. We write int I and int j separated by a comma. In the body of the method, we declare an integer variable named sum. We will go over every integer between I and j and put the summation in the variable sum. Sum is equal to 0 in the beginning. We write a for loop. We use a loop variable named a. The variable a starts from I, goes over every integer, and ends at j. Inside the loop, we add whatever number we see in the variable a with the current sum. And then we remember this summation in the sum variable by assigning the summation to the variable sum. Once the execution comes here, outside the loop, the variable named sum contains the summation of all the numbers between I and j. All we have to do is return the value. To do that, we write return sum. Then we put a semicolon. Sum is an integer. The return type is also an integer as we declared. Therefore, the method should work fine. Now let us call the method from the main method. Let us say that we have an integer variable named s in our code. We can call sum to I from the main method with parameters 3 and 6. One problem is that the method returns something. If we do not catch what is thrown by the method, we will lose the returned value. Sum I to j with arguments is an operation that represents what the method returns for the given arguments. Therefore, to capture what the method returns, all we have to do is use an assignment. In the left side of the assignment, we have to write an integer that will capture what is returned by the right side. Now, whatever is returned by sum I to j will be captured in the variable s. Therefore, if we print s, we should see 18 for this case. Let us write a system.out.println statement where we say the summation of all integers between 3 and 6 is. Then we print the content in s. Let us save the file, compile it, and run the program. Notice that the program is saying the summation of all integers between 3 and 6 is 18. We can add more calls in our code like sum I to j 10, 20 and sum I to j 1, 100. We print all those results. Let us save the file, compile the code and run the program. The results are printed for each of the 3 calls. Notice that in all 3 cases you are using the same method, but each time you are calling it with different arguments. As a result, we are receiving different summation results. Now let us do a tracing of this code to clarify the execution sequence of the code. Once we run the program, it will start from the main method. The first line in the main method is the declaration of s. The variable s will be created. In the next line, we have s equals sum I to j with arguments 3 and 6. The right side is executed first. That means the execution will now jump to the method sum I to j. The first argument is 3 and the second argument is 6. Therefore, I will be 3 and j will be 6 for this call. Now inside sum I to j, the first line has a variable named sum, which is initialized to 0 once the method is accessed. Then we have the loop variable. In the for loop, a will hold all values between I to j. At this point, I is 3 and j is 6. Therefore, the loop variable a will vary between 3 to 6. Each of these values will be added to the sum variable. After the loop ends, the variable sum will contain the summation value 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, which is 18. The return statement will return the number 18 and send the execution back to the caller method. The execution will go back to the caller exactly to the point from where the execution jumped to the sum I to j method. After going back to the caller, the right side will be considered 18 because the method returned 18. 18 will be copied to the variable s written in the left side of the assignment operator. Now we are printing the summation of all integers between 3 and 6 is whatever the content of s is. S is 18, therefore 18 is printed. The next line is S equals sum I to j, but with arguments 10 and 20. The execution will jump to the method sum I to j. This time I is 10 and j is 20. A new sum variable is initiated to 0 in the beginning of this method. In the loop, variable a will vary between 10 and 20. As a result, when the execution will come outside of the loop, the variable sum will contain the summation of all the numbers between 10 and 20. The summation is 165. The return statement will return 165. Upon returning to the caller, the right side of this assignment will be considered 165 because the method sum I to j returned 165. 165 is copied to the variable s, which is in the left side of the assignment operator. At this point, s contains 165. We print the summation of all integers between 10 and 20 is 165. Now the execution goes to the next line, which is another s equals sum I to j. This time the arguments are 1 and 100. The execution will jump to the method sum I to j. I is 1 and j is 100. The sum variable is initialized to 0 once again. The for loop will execute in such a way that the variable a becomes every number between 1 and 100. As a result, all numbers between 1 and 100 will be summed up and kept in the variable sum. The summation will result in 5050. The method will return 5050. Once the execution goes back to the caller method, the returned value 5050 will be copied to the variable s. Now we will print the summation of all integers between 1 and 100 is 5050. The program will then terminate. Note again that we called the same method 3 times with different arguments. That means we can repeatedly use a method without rewriting it and just by changing arguments. Possibilities are endless after learning methods. You can write methods for most commonly used functionalities in your work. Instead of writing the same code over and over in the main method, we can call the corresponding method with different arguments. I hope that the video was helpful. We will be back with more content soon. To keep in touch, subscribe to our website computingforall.com and to this video channel where we upload our video lectures. Hope to see you soon in another video. Thank you.